Creating content on the internet that gets people to click, watch, and eventually buy your product or service is really, really easy. The problem is, most content that I see on the internet doesn't do that at all. Instead, the content that I see is mostly purely focused on just delivering value, and that's exactly what your audience likely sees you as, an information delivery driver. This is what is known as the education trap in marketing. And that's because in this value style of exchange, you remove all of the personality, and because of that, you lack the level of trust that you need to establish with your audience to convert them from followers and viewers into buyers. In this video, I'm going to dive into the 3 ways that in the last few years have generated me over £2 million of sales by building what I feel is a magnetic personal brand through the content that I've created on the internet, which arguably I've created less, but actually it's worked harder for my business. So when you're ready, let's dive in. Creating magnetic content that actually attracts buyers for your business stems from building a very strong, stable, authoritative personal brand. But I want to change your perspective on what personal branding actually is. Personal branding, at least the way that I see it, it's about building friendships en masse with lots of different individual people. And I guess you could kind of compare this to building a relationship with the mates that you have today, right? Chances are you don't invite your mates to your wedding or your stag or a big family event that's meaningful in your life because they deliver constant value to you. You invite them to your wedding because you get on with them. They make you a better person. It's fun to be around. They challenge your thinking. They share different perspectives. They help you out when times are tough. And because of all of these different things and all these different experiences that you've had together, the chances are you're going to implicitly trust them. I see plenty of business owners and influencers creating educational content, and on the surface, I get a lot of value from it. I see them as the authority. I see them as the go-to person. They clearly know what they're talking about, but I'd never buy their product or service because I don't trust them. Creating content and building a personal brand is less about becoming the authority and being above people and being the person that knows everything about this specific thing and dives into incredibly complex topics, but it's more about being approachable and friendly and trustworthy. There's a great guy called Clouse who runs a community called The Lab. Amazing guy if you've not checked him out.
It used to be that LinkedIn and Twitter were basically the same. If you were good on Twitter, you could grow on LinkedIn very quickly and vice versa. Most creators, YouTubers especially, think getting monetized is having programmatic ads like AdSense. But especially when you're just hitting the threshold for getting monetized on YouTube, this doesn't actually add up to that much money. Like Colin and Samir told me in my interview with them, you can't really budget around this or count on it.
Jay, if you're watching this video, I'd love to collaborate on something in the future, okay? Jay feels so personable because he tells stories about, yes, the insights of his business, but also his family life and what's going on personally and what he's thinking in his brain. On top of that, he's also a great creator, and I trust him because I feel like he's a nice person and he knows what he's talking about. Chris Do is another fantastic creator who runs a company called The Future.
The thing I love the most about each and every single one of you is your dirty, imperfect self. And you know, the thing that AI will never replace is the weird sticky tension that happens in a space like this.
I wish every person who's going to see this or listen to this right now, go tonight, look yourself in the mirror and say, why do I want to wait for permission from someone else?
He is an incredible personal brand builder, sales coach, consultant, guide, guru, expert who tells amazing stories, again, shows the behind the scenes of his business, gives an insight into what he's thinking. And because he tells those stories in a way that builds a authoritative but also emotional connection, I implicitly trust Chris that I would work with him if I had a pain that he could solve. Now, just for a second, just imagine if these two great, in my opinion, creators didn't share the behind the scenes or didn't share an insight into them as a person. They just delivered educational value. They told you what you should be doing every time, and they showed up almost positioning themselves as better than you. Chances are you're not going to trust them. Absolutely, I believe in building systems and strategies and formalizing a process that allows you to convert viewers, drive that traffic to a landing page and convert them into a buyer. I'm wholeheartedly on that side. But there's also a very strange thing that happens when we build these systems and start to manufacture these strategies, that we over-engineer them to the point that they feel rigid and fake and cold, I guess you could say. It removes the whole personality part of personal branding and the beauty of creating videos to market yourself online. To get thousands of people to click and buy from us through building a personal brand, and that stems from creating content on the internet, we need to build trust with people. And here's how you do that from my experience. And arguably one of the most important things is to build relatability. It's very easy to get into that process of perfecting a post, to planning the perfect idea, filming it perfectly before we put it into the edit. When it does get into the edit, to add all the bells and whistles and music and transitions and sound effects and captions and subtitles and It's a lot. But for most people on the consumer side, seeing you as this perfect ideological person all the time, is that the right word? I don't know, removes that relatability. So my advice would be to reintroduce that level of rawness and that level of personality that potentially you're missing from your content at the moment. For example, okay, let's say you're a personal trainer, you're a PT, and you've got rock hard abs and your profile picture is you with your biceps bigger than your fucking head. Chances are, for people who are just getting into the gym and just want someone to help to support them on that start of the journey, that's gonna really push them away. It's gonna alienate them, it's gonna ostracize them, they're gonna really feel like you're just not the right fit. Yes, you know what you're doing. You've got abs like absolute steel, mate. But people don't want that. They just want to be supported and they want someone who knows nutrition or knows easy ways to get started if you've not been into the gym before. Another example might be if you're a Michelin star chef and you create a book about Michelin star meals, chances are you're going to be outsold by the person who creates an average book around creating 15-minute meals when you finish work and you're fucking knackered. Arguably, most people want to make better food, but they don't want to make better food at that level because it becomes inconvenient, it becomes a burden, it becomes something that is requiring more thought than it needs. And most of the time people just want to cook something that's fairly healthy in less time. So you get where I'm going. The quality of your content and the way that you position yourself might actually be putting people off because you feel so professional and you feel so many worlds apart from where they are, whereas all they're needing is just that natural next step. It's why I'm always really hesitant to film stuff in this sort of environment where I've got a £15,000 camera, I've got a £1,500 light, I've got a nice little lighting setup behind me, I've got a £500 microphone plugged into a £300 recorder. It makes me feel like I'm above people, whereas all I'm trying to do is just share value that helps you to get to that natural next step. Most small business owners just want to create stuff on their phone that they can do in an hour that gets them customers and leads to their business, right? That's my personal conflict. Do I film on something like this or do I film in the studio? I don't know, I'm not sure. Let me know in the comments below. But what I will do for a moment is tell you this. I started filming content 14 years ago on my phone. Probably 3 or 4 businesses that have failed miserably before my first successful one. In the first year of my first proper business, I lost about £30,000. I've hired and fired more people than I can count on both hands because I was a terrible manager when I was younger. This is my second attempt of this video because I've had the worst morning. I've just woken up and I felt in a shit mood. I couldn't be bothered to film it. I've tried to do it once. It didn't work. I'm trying to film it again and just give it a second repeat and see if it helps. Right now, filming this is the last thing that I'd want to do. I'd rather be sitting at home, curled up in bed with a coffee with my wife and just chilling out in the morning, right? But I'm not doing that. Whilst all of that is absolutely true, you can feel that instant difference in how open the conversation between me as the creator and you as the consumer has become. And the chances are you're now listening more intently because this conversation feels so much more authentic and so much more natural and so much more human. And doing that is such a simple change that in the rigidity of building stuff and engineering a structure, people tend to lose. So it's just advice. I'm not telling you what to do, it's just advice here. Implement a bit more fun and a bit more you into your content, and chances are you're gonna build an audience of people that click and buy. The second thing here is that we need to build authority. The content that you create can't just be story-driven and personable all the time. It has to have a level of authority to it. It's just finding the balance. The way that I like to do it in my business is under-promise and over-deliver on free value to the point that people go, whoa, I just got that for free. Well, what's his paid offer like? When you give free value, you have to give everything that you know. You have to give it in a way that is so impactful and so over-delivers on the promise that you set. People leave going, I can't believe I've just got that for free. From my experience, I spend a lot of time on social media. I pretty much live and breathe coming up with ideas, filming stuff, consuming other people's content, right? And I see the feed flooded with stuff like how to build a viral personal brand, or how to get a 6-figure business in 30 days, or here's my top 5 copywriting pieces of advice for YouTube titles. The problem with this content is that it is so overused, it's so generic, it's so vague, and I would argue valueless, that so many people skip past it. They've seen it before. And what you end up doing when you deliver this type of content is you just blend into the ocean of the online. The problem is that if people think the value that you give away for free is pretty crap, chances are they're not going to buy you paid offer because it sets the precedent for what your paid offer is going to be like. To build authority as the go-to person in our niche, we have to absolutely over-deliver on the free value promise. And don't worry, because I know what you're thinking, but Jack, what if people steal my advice and implement it for themselves? I can guarantee you they won't, all right? 99.999 recurring % of people will never implement what they learn from your free stuff. In the last couple of years of creating educational content where I literally tell people what to do, I could probably count on maybe one hand the amount of people that have reached out and said, hey Jack, I've tried your stuff, actually really helpful. Maybe three people out of the millions of people that I've reached. Your content needs to attract two types of people. A players, who are people who are ready to purchase, and B players, who are people who aren't ready to purchase but know people that are ready to purchase. The question that I like to ask to attract B players and A players is this: what are your competitors or people in your industry who are also marketing their business not willing to do? Do that. Create the stuff that they're not willing to share. Tell and teach the advice that they're not willing to give away for free. That sets you so many levels above them in terms of authority, in terms of trust, in terms of personableness, in terms of approachableness, personality, appreciation, respect, authority, legacy. I literally have in my description a 35-minute workshop that I created from scratch that teaches people how to come up with ideas, to script, to film, to edit, from start to finish, from A to B, or A to Z technically, completely for free. I don't charge for it. There are other people that I have seen charge thousands of pounds for a course on how to make your first video. Fuck that, I'm gonna give it away for free. That's insane value. That's the level of feeling that you want to evoke from giving value. Okay, so over deliver, under promise, over deliver. The third and final point here is to diversify ideas. You need to be really clear with the type of content that you create. Myself, Jay Clouse, Chris Doe, for example, we all create a variety of different content, from behind the scenes, insights into our business, more transparent pieces of content, educational videos, maybe entertaining videos, webinars, deep dives, workshops, masterclasses. We do the whole 9 yards. And because of that, we have creative variety. That means that when we do post content, no week looks the same. There might be a level of predictability or regularity to it to some degree, but for the most part, when we do post content, it feels fresh and it feels new and it feels rewarding to watch that because it's not something other people have consumed before. The problem that I see is that a lot of people get stuck in that same rhythm and that same familiarity. They do the same thing on the same day, in the same month, in the same year, over and over and over again. And the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results. So don't expect different results if you do the same thing over and over again. A good way to think about this is by using different social platforms for different types of content. So for example, my YouTube channel, if you go through the last 50 videos, it's all the same sort of stuff. It's teaching you mindset, it's allowing you to think slightly differently, it's challenging your perspective, but also giving advice that I know through experience that actually worked for me in my business. My LinkedIn content is a little bit more personable. It's vlogs, it's behind the scenes, it's insights into my business, it's updates around what we're doing within the Content Club. My email newsletter that I write is very, very deep dive into education. It's down to strategy, it's down to systems, it's down to processes. It's a little bit more technical and nitty gritty. There are different places for different types of content, and yes, you could put it all on one platform, but I think you need to build the ecosystem. That diversification is what maintains a healthy, fruitful relationship for you both, from creator and consumer, from giver from taker, okay? Yes, this is a very slow process. It takes time to build reputation equity, is what I call it, or legacy, or rapport with people. But as you go down this route, as you go down this journey, when you start to create different varieties of content and you do it on a regular basis, you're gonna build the relationships that allow people to click your content and eventually buy your products or your services. From my experience, I like to stick to 3 different types of content. That is personable, behind the scenes, and education. I just find that that's a really nice balance of a variety of different types of content. I'm not expecting you to think of new ideas all the time. I'm not expecting you to rejig your strategy in the different buckets of content that you create every single week. All I'm saying here is just add a bit of variety to it. Don't just create educational stuff. Don't just create personal stuff. Don't just create behind the scenes stuff. Create a variety of different styles of content, and chances are your content's gonna do really well. On the chance that you do wanna learn a bit more about turning your content into customers, I will leave a content to customers workshop for free. It's 15 minutes, down a link in the description. Go and check it out for yourself. If you've enjoyed this video, my name's Jack. I've created videos for the last 15 years, and the goal with my YouTube channel is to help you create harder working content without burning yourself out, feeling overwhelmed, or getting stuck in that second guessing cycle, okay? One way that you can do that right now for free, click on this video right here. It'll help you to create harder working videos for your business that actually get you customers. Go and check it out. Let me know what you think in the description below, and I'll see you in the next video. See you then.